You cannot manage what you do not measure. If I was to ask you how well your business did last month, you would probably answer me in terms of sales, how well you did, or how much sales were down, or whatever the case may be. If I were to drill a little bit more and ask, well, how much of that money did you keep? Your answers are probably going to get a little bit more vague. Hi, I'm Carmel Siri, and I help you keep more of the money you make and grow your business through increasing profit. Welcome to Profit Over Turnover. So you cannot manage what you do not measure. So you probably have a good idea of your sales. You probably think you've got control over your costs and your cash balance is okay. However, if you're not actually measuring how well they're doing, comparing them, your own data from month to month, you're relying on your gut instinct rather than what is actually going on in your business. So to help manage this and ultimately grow our business the way we want to grow it, we create key performance indicators. So they're called KPIs. Now, you may have heard of these or you may not, but they're simply a way of putting a number onto whatever is important in your business so that you can monitor how well you are doing on a week to week or month to month, depending how often you measure. And it's a way of sensing how well your business is doing without having to look into all the nitty-gritty numbers. So look like a little bit like a dashboard on your car. So there are really some key elements to the dashboard. It's not every part of the engine, it's not every part of the car that's there. However, all the key elements of how your car is working is there. And if there are no lights and you switch on the engine and everything is going fine, you know everything in the engine is you're relatively secure that everything is going well. If a light comes on, you know that's a little warning that you need to get to address something. And then if it starts flashing, you know that, oh my God, it's a red light, you need to do something about it. And KPIs are like that for your business. They're going to help you focus in, give you a helicopter view of the business and focus in then on what needs your attention. So for example, if you were a restaurant owner, you might want to know how many customers you have on your busy night, a Friday night or a Saturday night, and you might compare that weekly. If you are a service provider, you might want to know how many of your customers are converting into monthly retainers, because that is where you want to grow your business. If you are a product seller on Shopify, how many customers are returning customers, because this is where you feel that your company is going to grow. It's always going to be very different for every business. Even your own competitors in the exact same line of business that you are in may have different KPIs. And we're going to get into we're going to cover now how you set up KPIs for your business and the value that they will bring. So the key to a good KPI is that the information helps you make a decision. So based on the information that you're working out, you can then make a decision on how to improve your company. So the first step is we look at our goals. We want to see our KPIs need to tie in with the company goals and your goals, your personal and company goals. So we look at where you want to be. So say, for example, you want to increase turnover. So that would be the goal of the company, and that may be a personal goal, because that will allow you to do other things in the business. So therefore, we are tying in one of our KPIs into increased turnover. Step 2 is identifying what actually drives that goal. So we've identified we want more turnover. So what's actually driving that? So it will be customers. So then you would look at your customers and you'd say, well, is the problem that I don't have enough customers? And that will send you down the route then of working out how you get your customers. So what do you need to increase in order to increase customers? Is it more social media posts? Is it more networking events? What is driving the turnover that you already have? It might be that you're getting plenty of customers, but you can't keep them. So you need to look at customer retention, customer satisfaction. So that might drive you down the route of doing a customer survey or interviewing your previous customers, finding out why they haven't returned. That will give you information into how to drive the turnover with your existing social media, etc. So you need to identify what the driver is. Once you have your goal, once you have your what's driving it, you then need to set a target. So again, looking at the increased customers, if we've increased our customer base by 10% each month, we need to then maybe increase that, or maybe we haven't increased our customer base at all in the last few months. So we need to look at maybe adding 1 or 2 extra customers a month, or maybe it's 50 customers, depending on your business. So you need to set up a target that you can measure what's actually happening in the business against where you want to be. So if you have 0 customer growth, then you might set it at 10%. Each month you're hitting that 10%. You want to increase your customer base by 10%. And how are you going to do that? So have a target to measure it against, and an actual figure that you're working out on a monthly basis or regular basis, and you're measuring the right driver. So step 4 then is, how often are you going to measure this KPI? So if you're looking at something like a cash balance, you ideally want to do that on a daily basis, but minimally at a weekly basis. And then something like your margins, gross and net margin, profit growth, you might be looking at them monthly. And then some, based on the information that you're gathering, may make more sense to do it on a quarterly basis. The idea would be to have, ideally, I recommend about 5. Let's start off at 5 and create a spreadsheet, create a notebook. You're starting in the month you're starting, what KPI you're measuring, and then just writing those figures down. There's a limit to the information that you will get on 1 month and maybe even 2 months. But what we're looking for here is trends. And that brings us on to step 5, which is keeping that number 5. Just because you can measure something doesn't mean you should. You really want to again, like if you had 20 or 30 KPIs, it's too big. It's too broad. You want to bring it down to maybe turnover. You want to have it gross margins. You want maybe cash. Now they're financial. But we also have non-financial ones like customer retention, conversion rates. There's a lot of data there, and you do have, there is a lot of data that is available to you. So you need to work out with the goals, with what's driving the business, with what you can manage, and what's going to make a difference in your business. So setting up those KPIs is important, because what you measure is going to improve as you focus on them and improve them, and that will make the business better. So once you've set up your KPIs, book a half an hour in your diary every month, and certainly at a regular basis. If you're doing them weekly, set up a half an hour every week. But ideally monthly, you should have all of them ready to go at the end of the month. You sit down for half an hour and go through them. Even if you're in the business on your own, you need to sit those down, have a half an hour, look at what's moving, where the trends are going. That's what you're interested in, is trends. So for example, if we're going back to that customer, creating customers, and you've set that target of 10%. And you're currently at 0%, so you haven't added on any customers this year, and you want to increase it to 10%. So you might then increase it 1%, 2%. You're looking at what that trend is. You're looking to make sure that those figures are moving in the direction that you have set. You also, if you're monitoring turnover on a month-to-month basis, sometimes turnover can dip. So you might have a decrease in turnover from 1 month to the next, but then you would monitor that then for the next few months. And if it goes back up, then it might just be an issue for that month. That isn't a worry. Or it could be showing there's a decrease in turnover trend, which is an issue, which means you need to look at how you're getting those customers, and maybe the funnels that you're currently using are no longer working. So the KPIs are a great way to focus your attention on what's happening in the business. Again, they're a great way for you to understand and know what's going on in the business, and have a helicopter overview, so that you always are aware of things are starting to change. And remember, there's no point in setting up these KPIs or spending all the time setting them up and initially monitoring them for you to drop the ball next month or not to act on the information that they are giving you. Remember to measure it, understand it, and then that will improve it. Thank you so much for joining me, and don't forget to subscribe and share with a business colleague. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Profit Over Turnover.